Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I am your host, Hannah Chapman, and today we are talking about money and transformation and upheaval, and that's a little clue for later. And my guest today is another amazing, prosperity-minded coach and guide. And so we're gonna go deep today, and I'm excited. So Mindie Kniss is here with me today. She is a PhD, a writer, a coach, a speaker, and an award-winning humanitarian, and we're going to get into that for sure. She's the founder of Lucra, which is a private coaching practice dedicated to helping entrepreneurs create wealth in all areas of life. She also hosts the Lucra podcast and is the author of the best-selling book, The Heart of Consciousness, and just got another book deal coming out soon for her book, Heart Path. She was featured in the films The Abundance Factor in 2015 and Impact in 2021. And Mindy, oh my gosh, like cannot wait to dive in. So thank you so much for being here. And please tell us more of how you came to be to this place you're at now, doing all the amazing things that you're doing. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, Hannah, I'm totally stoked. So, first off, thank you for having me. This is such a great opening to a new conversation. I think the best place to begin might be when I had a very strong calling to leave my Fortune 100 job. So after college, I kind of like did all the things you're supposed to do, like go get a job. I was making money. I bought a house. I had a car. I was dating a really nice guy. And cool. But I called that whole experience slow suicide to my soul because my heart wasn't in it, even though, like, on paper, everything looked awesome. So I had this amazing opportunity to go work as a global health fellow in Kenya. And that was actually a part of my job, which was so cool that I got that chance. But being away from my day to day life in 2006 and 7, I had the ability to look back at it from a different perspective. You know, so many times we get in these ruts of like, this is just what I do. This is who I am. This is what every single day looks like. And then when I was in Kenya, it was a completely different everything. So I'm like, okay, do I really want to go back to that, which is slow suicide to my soul when I get home to the United States? Clear answer from like my heart, my soul, my everything was like, no, you do not want to go back. Okay, so then what am I going to do? Obviously, I have to make money. You know, what's the next thing on the path? So I figured out, okay, what would I be best at doing? And Julia Cameron's work, The Artist's Way, was really influential in me sorting that out, figuring that out. So I was going through that work, and what I came up with in that year that I was over there was like, okay, I'm kind of already the type of person that people come to for advice, opinion on things. They want my suggestions on things. So thankfully, and this was way back in 2006, thankfully there was this thing called life coaching. And I was like, maybe I'll do that. I don't know anything about it, but sure, it sounds great. I also knew that I definitely wanted to pursue writing as more of an important part of my life. I'd always been a writer ever since I learned how to read. And that's been a huge thing for me. I'm a book nerd, book collector, and I wanted to pursue that. So coming out of that Kenya experience, I was like, okay, when I get back to the United States, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to apply to grad school for writing. Now, I did not do that in my undergrad, so I really had no business applying in that. But I also wanted to start a coaching business. So there's a whole big story about how the universe kind of like met me in that destination and ended up, I got fired from my job. Well, laid off. So I got a severance to get kicked out the door and onto this new path. I was like, whoo, you know, the universe aligns, the universe conspires. It totally does. Then I'm off on this new adventure. Amazing. 2 years in. And so now we're talking 2008, 2009. A lot of financial stuff going on in the world, not so pleasant. And I don't know the first thing about marketing or sales. And not only did I not know the first thing about it, I was totally against it because it felt slick and slimy and gross to
Yep.
me. So I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. Just, just not going to do it. I'm just going to be an amazing coach, and that's enough. as you know, that doesn't really work out. I'm like, I'm this great coach. Like, why isn't the phone ringing? Why aren't people coming to my website? And because I wasn't marketing, because I wasn't doing any sales. And very, very, very quickly, because I didn't have like a bridge job, I didn't have any other income at that time other than my savings. I very quickly went through that savings, went through that severance, and then I was like, well, I still need more money. Okay, went through my credit cards, racked up about $100,000 of debt, lots of it for, business startup costs, but I probably invested in things that I didn't even need because I didn't know better at that time.
Hmm.
Then I was like, well, I still need more money, and now all my cards are maxed out. IRA or no, sorry, at that time it was still from my company. So let's just bust into that. And as you well know, there are great fees and, bad things happen when you do that. So
Hmm.
then I drain that. There's really nothing left, and I'm still not making enough money to support myself. I still had a house where I lived before in Michigan. I was renting an apartment in Portland, Oregon at the time. And what all of that culminated in is getting evicted from my apartment, my house being foreclosed in Michigan. I was quite literally scrounging for change every day just to be able to eat. And what I could afford was the dollar menu at the Jack in the Box across the street, which is disgusting. And I ended up at the kind of end of that whole deal filing for bankruptcy because I'm like, I just don't know what to do. And by that point, my student loans had kicked in from grad school, which was like, let's just add on another $100,000. Now, the deal with that is that they don't get cleared from bankruptcy.
Right.
So I still had all those student loans, but at least it was like a little bit more manageable to get rid of the credit card debt. And I would say that was a very, very traumatic experience because I felt like I was the biggest idiot on the planet, quite honestly. And I had, up until that point, thought of myself as a pretty bright person. And so then the dealing with like what I had created for myself and be like, what the hell? Like, how did you get into this much of a mess when you should be able to figure it out? It was a really, really, really bad time. So I'll stop my story there because then it goes on from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, for so many entrepreneurs, there are, there are so many similarities, right? As far as like having the credit card debt or business debt of something, usually it's credit card debt in those first several years that you are building and investing in yourself and investing in different things, right? To like to figure out where you're going to go, how you're going to get there. And then the student loan piece, like all of it, like going through your 401k or your IRA. I mean, on the financial advisory side, like I know that that happens. And I know that, you know, that was one of the reasons that I really felt strongly compelled to work with business owners and entrepreneurs in the first place is that so many of them have a very similar origin story to what you just shared and feel so much guilt, shame, like they can't go talk to another financial professional because they're like, well, you don't have any assets left because you use them, or you have very little left because you used most of them.
Right.
Even when they're like making good income again, they're like, I know, but I'm making money now. What do I do with it? I'm like, well, you don't have assets to manage. So
You know
off you
what,
go.
Hannah? Like, let me tell you how bad it was for me because I know now in my life many other people that have ended up filing bankruptcy, through their business, through whatever. I would say that probably most of the people that I have talked to and that I know did it in a much more smart way. Like they maybe filed a particular type of bankruptcy or it was like just their business assets and they had their own money and so they were fine. I didn't know about any of that. So I just remember being at bankruptcy court and the judge looked at me and he was like, okay, well, like how much money do you have to your name? And I wasn't making this up. I literally had like $298, like total, that everything. And he just looked at me like, what in the heck, girl? Like what? Like the look of like pity on his face. I just recall that so much and I'm just like, wow, like he thinks I'm just lost. So I got to figure this out.
Well, we maybe had some some compassion at least. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, he was a nice guy, but he was just kind of like shaking his head, like, wow, like, how did you get so far gone? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Just, I don't know.
So when you were at that place, what was it that helped you keep moving forward?
Two primary things. There were lots of little things, but two primary. One is that I truly felt that that was what I was here to do. Like I was here to help people sort out themselves, sort out their mindset, sort out their life so that they could have a clearer path forward to do whatever it is that they're here to do, whatever that purpose is. So that felt very true for me, very real for me, and very important for me. So I always had that. There wasn't a doubt of like, should I be doing this? That was clear. And just having that ability to like trust in that, sometimes without rational reason, sometimes when everything else was saying you should give this up, I was like, I'm not going to do that because I know that this is my path. So that's one primary piece. So internal. External was I happened to meet in the midst of all of that chaos. I was living out of my office in Portland at the time. I happened to meet the guy who would become my husband, and he had a completely different style of money mindset than I did. I was living in scarcity. I had a lot of just self-worth challenges. He was like a live large, let's spend everything type of person, but much more abundantly minded. So he
Mhm.
really helped me open up my mind to like, here's what's possible. One of the very first things he said to me, he was like, yeah, so I checked out your website and you should be charging a lot more. Well, I heard that and I just started crying because it
Oh.
was such a pain point for me at that time. And he called it right away. And that was what he did. He was just like, let's play big, let's live big, let's go. And come on. And so that was a massive thing. He also had a massive business network that he started introducing me to other people who were big thinkers and very successful in their world. So I started learning things like sales and marketing and networking and all this stuff that didn't necessarily come naturally to me because I'm a huge, huge introvert and a hermit. But that really, really helped. So, like the internal aspect of just trusting what I was here to do, and then the external of having different role models of different ways of doing it. Because, like, when I was growing up, I didn't know anyone who was an entrepreneur. Everyone
Mhm.
had regular jobs. All of my parents, everybody in our neighborhood, they all worked, and most of them worked more than one job. So they all worked really hard. Well, that was my life view. So I didn't have any role models at the beginning. I was just making it all up as I went.
Oh, so that piece, and I have worked with this piece within myself and seen it a lot, that piece of um, you have to work really hard
I,
for
I
anything to
still
work.
I still work with that in myself because I know that now and I've seen how it has played out in my life. And I still to this day will catch myself on that one and been like, yo, you don't need to like go crazy here. Just relax, just chill. And so it's still something that I probably will always, notice in myself.
Yeah, yeah. It is really, really interesting though, the way you just phrase that and having that person, having your, husband to be, at that point, be like, hey, come over here. Hey, come look at this. Hey, come meet these people. A lot of times when you don't have that upbringing, you don't see that. Your parents aren't, going to networking events or going and speaking on stages. Like,
No,
I
I had
don't,
no idea.
I don't think very many people have that experience of a parent, right? So it's
I think today, I
almost
mean,
fun.
today it feels like more people do, just because like it's such a different world that we're living in today from, I don't know, when I was a kid. So I hope that more people have just those inspirations of like, oh, you know what, I might like to do that. But I literally felt like I was just making it all up as I went, and it didn't go very well.
So another piece, that well, no, let's keep going. Let's keep
Okay.
going with the story until because there's more to it, right?
There's more to it. Okay, so like here, I'll give you the kind of the highlights, and then we can go down any of those paths. Highlights then, I was able in 2014, I hit my first six-figure year. And that to me felt like I might as well had $1 billion at that
Mhm.
point because it felt so like, oh my gosh, I got there. Now it took me 7 years to do it from when I started my business. And I was always, of course, comparing to like people online, like, oh, overnight millionaire, and like, oh, I made $1 million in my first year. I'm like, that was not me. I
Yep.
went on the slow, like the tortoise path. But I got there, and that was really just mind boggling to me. Well, then, of course, in the entrepreneurial path, we're like, okay, what's next? We're always adding another zero or the next number or the next milestone, whatever that might be. But what I found is that it was really important to me to always keep really, really powerful, I guess you'd call it work life balance. But to me, it's like just kind of chilling, doing my own thing, going rolling with the flow. And I figured out how to get paid by doing the things that I love. I started a retreat called Heart Path, which is now the name of my forthcoming book. And I was like, okay, what would I like to do? Well, I like to hike in Sedona, Arizona. I like to meditate. I like to be in nature. I like to dig into like the fascinating science of heart intelligence and mind body coherence and all this cool stuff because I like to geek out on that. Well, I built a retreat that we did all those things. And then I was able to generate money from doing that. I'm like, this is freaking amazing. I would be doing this stuff anyway. The fact that all you guys are here doing it with me and you're paying me to be here, totally flooring to me.
Yeah.
So that grew over the years. I ended up creating lots of different training courses, all kinds of different stuff. Then let's fast forward the story a little bit. My husband and I found he was also in the same industry. He was a well known professional speaker, and we were duplicating a lot of stuff. He was awesome in terms of the networking, the visibility, social media, all of that. I don't like all of that. I'm awesome at the operational and the vision. So I'm like, ooh, here's what we can create, and I can create the operations to make that happen. And then he like brought the people. So together it was an amazing partnership, marriage wise and business wise. We ended up combining forces into one business. So I wasn't like doing the same thing for his business that I was doing for my business, which was awesome. After about a year and a half of that, now we're in 2019, he ends up passing away unexpectedly from an accident. So there was no warning, no nothing. It was like one day we woke up, typical Wednesday, we took the day off, had some time together. We were leaving the house. He falls, hits his head, and goes to the emergency room. 4 hours later, I'm coming back home solo. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I had to like 10 years prior to that, I had to do all of this like financial rebuilding from ground zero. That's what it felt like again. And here's the weird part, Hannah, like it's so strange to me, but you'll get how weird this is. One of the first things I thought, like this was after he had passed and within the first days or weeks right after that happened. My thought was, I'm never going to be able to make money again.
Mm.
And thankfully, I'm conscious enough to like catch myself and be like, what?
Yeah.
Hello, you already had a six-figure business like years ago that you built. Like, you don't think you could do that again? Well, yeah, like rationally and logically, yes. Obviously, I could do that again. The fear, the scarcity, the grief, the all of that was like rearing its ugly head and being like, you're done. You're not going to be able to do anything ever again. And like somehow I gave all that power to him. Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a part of it, but not the whole thing. So it was a really, really interesting time for me of like rebuilding. And then it did take me about a year, I would say, because I basically did nothing for a year other than just purely be in the experience of grief. I was like, I'm just going to give myself the time and the space because thankfully, as an entrepreneur, you're able to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to, and we didn't have kids too. So, like, that was an added bonus of not needing to, deal with anyone else. I'm like, I can just fully be in this experience, get the whole of it that I need to get and continue to take steps forward. So it did take me about year and a half to like get back to that six-figure mark. But then I did, and it was like, okay, Canis, come on, let's go. So now, I mean, and that then was about 6 years ago. So here we are today.
Mm, there is, there's so much.
Yeah, I know. I
There's
was
so
like,
much
where
in
do you
there,
want to go
right?
with this?
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, so before we started recording, um, one thing Minnie mentioned was that she's been looking into birth charts and astrology and like all of the
I want to
things.
talk about that too.
Yes, absolutely. We will get there. And I asked what your human design was. You're a 6'2" sacral generator. And I said, that's an interesting story. What's your life theme? Turns out it's the left angle cross of upheaval.
Which I was like, okay, what does that even mean?
Right? Hilarious. So first of all, the left angle cross means it's an interpersonal. Interpersonal. So you are here to help others through upheaval.
It's
And
exactly my path.
right. And the 6'2", I've talked about this several times, but I love that 6'2", I'm also a 6'2", sacral manifesting generator. Um, but the life path of a six line is that you will go through all kinds of stuff. You have to teach through what you've been through.
Yeah.
And so, as hard as that was, all of those lessons that you learned as you were younger, that's all part of getting you to what happens is the six line goes through all of its trying everything, failing, throwing the spaghetti at the wall, all of it, learning all the lessons as hard as they are. And then we go through a period of like, oh, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And it's called going up on the roof. And then you're up and you're just watching everyone else do their thing. Like, oh
Huh.
yeah, I see what's happening there. I see what's happening there. I'm gonna stay in my lane for a little while. And then we come down off the roof, usually around age 49 to 51 is when the wisdom is like fully embodied and ready to go, to
I love
fully
it.
step into the role model. And so what I'm guessing is that you are approaching that next phase of like, okay, with the books, with the heart path, with all, right? Like it's like,
Well, and that's even like almost close. I'm 46 right now.
yeah.
So by the time, I mean, the book won't be out for like year and a half. So that's real close up in there.
Yes, yeah, where the wisdom is embodied, right? Like the wisdom is there, you've lived it, and then you can really, really help people transform from that place of I have been through some serious
Some
upheaval.
stuff. Some stuff. Can I tell you something about divine timing that I find so cool? Because I think that people on the entrepreneurial path, most of them, I know I was this, I know all my friends are this, most of my clients are this. We all have a very warped view of time. We want everything done yesterday. We
Yeah.
want to hit that milestone 2 years ago. We want to do all the things already. And I had the interesting experience just this year of looking back to when I was in grad school for writing. At that time, I was writing a book, a memoir about my time in East Africa. And I thought that was like my big life story. Like that was the thing that I was here to like teach the world of like, as a young white American female, how I was feeling and being in that culture. Well, I hadn't even met my husband yet. I was just at that time starting my business. So I hadn't gone through all the financial chaos. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right now is the time to write that book because not the Kenya book, but the Heart Path book of all this other stuff. That's the life story. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't publish that one back then. And I just think that spoke to me so clearly of like everything is perfectly timed. We all just need to calm down and relax and be like, okay, it is on time. It is perfect divine timing. Like just relax.
Mm. Yeah, that trusting,
The
learning how to
process.
trusting the process, trusting yourself, I think is the other piece. Like that's what else I heard in your story was that deep knowing that like this is what you're here to do.
Yeah, there was never a question. And some clients have asked, like, well, how do I do that? Honestly, I'm probably not the best person to ask because to me it just was. Like it
Hmm.
was so clear, it was so strong. And I was like, okay, you can practice doing that. Like I can show you ways to do that. But for me, it was elemental.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that can be kind of hard sometimes. It's also this is what I think is also super interesting. People who have a very abundant mindset or grew up in a home where, you know, they were provided everything, everything was easy, quote unquote, from a money standpoint. Um, it's very funny to hear people try to teach money mindset from that place. And no, it's like, no, you can't teach it when you just like had it necessarily. Like that doesn't really work. Well, on the other side, when you have to heal, when you have to shift, when you have to go through fire and come back out the other side, that's where like we had to source our own tools, right? I'm similar. My story was we had to, money was my parents were entrepreneurs,
Ah,
most of my
nice.
family, but like I would call it like blue collar, hard working.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, Arizona, repainting homes outside, inside, like hard work. Um, and so the story that I grew up with is money is hard to make and hard to hold on to.
You want to know the craziest thing, Hannah? The craziest thing about my story is that I grew up on the North Shore of Chicago, which is a fairly wealthy, well-to-do area. So to me, it wasn't, no, I would not have been able to talk about any of this back then. But to me, it wasn't that like money was difficult. I mean, like I went to camp every summer, we had everything that we needed. But compared to the other people in our area, like they were the rich people and we were not.
Yeah.
Even though we had plenty of money. And I grew up with the mindset of all that they had, it was just materialistic. And I don't want to be part of that at all. So I was like this to money. And
Hmm.
isn't that interesting that that's what money did? Money was like, yo, if you don't want to be in connection with me, in partnership with me, if you're always saying it's not about the money, because I said that religiously, it's not about the money. I would do this work anyway. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. The money was like, peace out. I'm gone. And for me, it was more like a worth thing because secretly, now again, I would not have known this at the time, but secretly, like I wanted that. The things that I saw that my friends had, the way that they got a 16 car on their 16-year-old birthday. Like I wanted that, even though I was like, that's so materialistic and gross. Nah, well, why was I so against it? Because I didn't have it, but I wanted it. So
Yeah.
it's like being able to deconstruct ourselves looking back, it is one of the most fascinating things I think that we can do because it's like, whoa, this was my environment. These were the people in that environment. This was like my weird perception of that environment or those people.
Hmm.
And now, from a different perspective, what can I learn, about that? Who was I then? What was I really do? Oh, I really actually wanted that money. It wasn't that I was like against it. I wanted it, but then I felt unworthy because I didn't have it or my parents weren't giving me a car on my 16th birthday. Like, thank goodness they didn't because I probably would have been whatever. But like at the time, it was a deep wound for me.
And so how did you go about healing some of that? I mean, clearly there was we heard a lot of the story, but then what are some of the mental shifts that were really instrumental for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent years and lots and lots of money and lots of energy on this healing path because it was such a big thing. And I was like, "Gah, I don't want that again." One of the things that I did, and what's interesting is it's always like the simplest stuff that can be the most impactful. One thing that I would catch myself is if I were to think or say, I can't afford that, I had to completely take that out of my mind and my vocabulary. Now, that doesn't mean that always there's enough money in the bank account to pay for that thing. That's not what I'm saying. but I forced myself to get creative. I'm an entrepreneur. If I want to make more money, I can make more money. If I want to, whatever, I can do more marketing or what, like that is the freedom we have as an entrepreneur to be able to grow and expand as much as we want to grow and expand. Like there isn't a limit. There isn't a ceiling. There isn't some boss saying, "Oh, well, you're only in this salary cap, so you can only make X amount of money." Like
Right.
I forced myself to get creative and resourceful and say, "Okay, if I want to afford that thing, instead of just being like, I can't afford it," because that shuts off all creativity, it shuts off all resourcefulness. It's like, we're done. Sorry, I'm the victim here. Nah, I never want to be that. So I'd be like, all right, that training, it costs $3,000. Okay, there's not $3,000 in my bank right now. How could there be? How could I make 3,000 more dollars? Whether this month, this year, whatever. It's not about time frames, but like I made myself do that. And I made that like such a sticking point. Every time, if I would think it, if I would say it, I'd be like, hold on. Nope. We're not playing that game anymore. We're going a different way. So that was one thing, just really being like anal retentive about my own thoughts and mindset and calling myself out and having other people, like my husband was awesome at this. And he would just be like, yo, like, why are you coming from scarcity in this? I'd be like, I don't know, but thank you for letting me know that.
Right.
Like, let's figure
Reminder.
this out. Yeah, it was awesome. Like we were always challenging each other like that, which was so good. Um, so having people call me on my stuff, calling myself on my stuff, recognizing scarcity whenever it showed up, all of those things. And what helped that is like reading a lot of different books, different people's perspectives on money, hanging around with people who have way better abundance mentality than I ever could imagine. And that really is so expansive. It's like, oh, well, why am I playing so small over here when like I could be doing that? Well, let's do that then. That looks way more fun.
Right.
So those are a few steps along the journey.
Mm. Yeah, that one, that a really, really big shift for me, that was similar was in sales. So when you talked about like sales, like
Yeah.
sales and marketing feeling gross and icky, and that was such a huge thing for me. I started in the financial industry in 2006, and then in financial services in 2007, proper like selling, like trying to get people in as clients. And I lost, I think it was at least 20. I was not big. I lost 20 pounds from stress, from not being
Whoa.
able to eat, from not being like over a 12-week period. It's like, okay,
Oh my gosh.
well, that's not good.
No.
Like almost gave myself an ulcer. It was rough. And even when I didn't stay in that advisory role, I went into a support role for the next about 9 years. And even getting back into the advisory role when I did back in 2017, 2016, 2017, the sales tactics were still the same.
Mm,
Right? I mean, I went through like actual like sales training, like corporate financial sales training. And it always felt like complete like misalignment. Like I was
totally.
I was forcing myself to do something that felt bad over and over and over again. So I had really strong block on like selling on anything, that felt salesy. And so, yeah, healing through all of that and heal like to be now at the place where it's like, sales calls are fun.
Yeah.
Exploration calls are amazing. I love having exploration calls with
Do
people.
you want to know how I did it? Like how I shifted my stuff around that?
Yeah, how did you do it?
And I'd love to hear yours as well. I have come to the point where I honestly, truly, realistically would love the people to be a part of my stuff, but honestly don't care if they say no.
Yeah.
So I look at my job in terms of like if I'm doing a webinar, if I'm writing a sales letter, whatever, in terms of sales and marketing, my only job in that whole thing is to help the people make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
If they're like leaning toward it, I want to help them make the decision yes, so that we can play together. Like that would be awesome. But if they're like not into it, I want to help them make the decision of no because I don't even really want like that in my program. I want people who vibe with me, who are on the same page or at least willing to learn like what I have to say, that's a way more fun program. Now, the problem is, and this I experience this a lot, and I see clients of mine experience a lot, is they're like, well, Mindy, I have to care because I need to make the money.
Right.
The challenge with that is that nobody wants to say yes to neediness. So as soon as you bring that needy energy in of like, I need you to say yes right now, they're like, it's like a needy
Right.
friend or boyfriend or so. You don't want that.
Right. And
So they're going to start.
they can't always articulate it either. It's
Right.
just the like, that's a no. I feel I gotta go.
And it's just an energy thing. So some
Right.
people aren't necessarily even very like keen to it, but I'm like, you have to be really aware of if you're coming across as needy or not. And you have to do everything in your power, mental toughness wise, to not let that in and just be like, I am here as a neutral person to help you make a decision. If it is yes, amazing. So stoked. If it's no, also amazing. So stoked because you're not the right client for me. There are a billion other coaches out there. Like, go to them. I'm not going to serve that person as well as someone who is like on board, all in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that to me was like the biggest shift is like, I cannot come across as needy. I have to get myself out of that. Now, I will say to people listening, because they're going to be like, well, how do I do that? Because I do need the money. It's a lot easier when you've got more money.
Yeah.
Like today, I'm like, yo, do you want to work together? Great. If not, no, perfect. Like, I literally don't care. But I also have more financial resources now. So I understand that that is easier, but you have to do the mental gymnastics to get yourself into that place where then the money starts to take care of itself. Then you can be less needy more easily, I guess.
That's such a good way to put it. And I would say my path was very similar. I mean, as far as like when I first started my practice, like I did need clients.
Right. You have to pay the bills. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, like that we got to build. We got to get people in the door. And that you're absolutely right that sent that the for anyone watching, like I like to see it as a visual of like if the yes is here at my nose, if you're pulling people across the finish line with your energy, literally by, we can use like normal terms, overcoming objections, right?
Right.
Convincing energy, manipulation energy,
Persuasion, all that.
persuasion, right? Yeah. If you're pulling them across the finish line or trying to, that's you're either going to get clients who dig in their heels and go the other way or come with you and then regret it, right? And will leave. Eventually not have the experience, not 100%. That's there are always people that are going to have a good experience with you because you're an amazing person. But when you're dragging people over the finish line, you have so many more people in your program, in your client list, who, like you said, are not all in and are looking for reasons to substantiate that feeling of like, I wasn't sure about this. So they're
Yeah, or
always going to
just
be
like
looking.
self-sabotage it anyway. So it's like whatever. But you know what's so interesting to me is the opposite is true as well. I have had clients, I was speaking on stage once, and this woman came up to me after my talk. She hands me her business card, and on there she's written, "Can you please coach me?" And I was like, yeah, I mean, let's go. This is amazing. Like, I didn't have to do anything. I was just on stage. I, ooh, a little 4th of July. I don't know if you heard that, but the fireworks apparently are going off outside of my house.
Oh, we're good.
Uh, it's a little shocking. I end up working with this woman. She pays me very well. Like everything was good. As it turns out, I'm not sure exactly, like, I am not a psychiatrist, so I was not able to diagnose her. But if I had to guess, she might have had some like borderline personality type of tendencies or something was, let's just say, a little not normal, if I can say that, not usual. And working with her was a nightmare because
Hmm.
we would have this whole like an hour of our coaching call and it would be one thing. And then she would email me or text me like right after that and it would be a completely different person. And I'm like, whoo, Okay, this is not my specialty. So I call that bad money. Even though it was easy, she wanted to work with me. I didn't have to do anything. She paid me. I ended up giving her her entire money back because I do not like bad money. And at
Mhm.
that time, that was not an easy thing to do because I was still in debt. I still had bills to pay. I still like needed that money, but I was not willing to put myself into a situation like that that was so bizarre. Like I wasn't able to help her really. Like I was not the best person for her. So I gave her the money back. So I think there is a distinction between good money and bad money. And I just wanted to like showcase that because it can be like the pulling them across or the, hey, here you go, here's the money. But you're like, whoa, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's where just the exploration call in general, or however you structure your sales process is really important because you get to, that's how I feel now is that I get to feel your energy and you
Mhm.
get to feel mine. And we both get to come to the table and say, yes, this is a yes for me, but I'm going to say, just like you said, I would love to work with you. I think this would be super fun. And I want this to be the right time for you.
Yep.
I want you to be all in. I want you to have the abundant financials to do the process we're about to do. Right. And so you get to come across the finish line. But I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel.
Yeah,
And even if the clarity is, you know what? I don't feel like I'm the right person to help you right now.
totally.
Like that's to be able to truly feel that and then say that and know that it's like one, I'm okay if you say yes or no.
Yep.
And two, I'm okay if I say yes or no.
Right.
Right. Like I'm
Right.
allowed to say no. I just talked with a client about this the other day that she says that in her contract, like she wants it to be mutually beneficial,
Hmm.
like both parties. And she's like, I've always held that open for them. I don't think I've ever given myself that actual permission.
Oh, what beautiful freedom that
Yeah.
she now has realizing that.
Right. Right. Like, yeah, you get to say no if it's not a good fit for you.
And you should. Like that's what I say. You should say
Yeah.
no.
Yes. Yes.
Hannah, what do you think about this? There are people, and like I can't give anyone else the advice to do this because I don't actually think it's a good idea. But there were times in my journey where I spent, not like put it on a credit card, let's be clear, a lot of money to like go to certain trainings or work with certain people or do certain things that I I wouldn't feel right saying you should do that like to a client now if they're like don't have any money. But yet at the same time, I know that some of those pieces along my path were like the things that moved it along. So what do you think about? Especially as a financial advisor,
Yeah.
I'd love your perspective on that.
Oh my gosh. I've had conversations like this quite a bit with other coaches too and other I mean I spent multiple six figures on coaching and trainings and going and doing things, right? And that felt I felt very I'll say my sacral response once I learned what that was, I can feel like I knew like it's like I have to. This
Need
is
to
a
do this.
yes.
Yeah.
Like I know that this is going to put me in the right spot. Um, Now knowing what I know about human design, especially when those things come up, and I have clients who ask me about this, exact thing. It's like, okay, if you're an emotional authority, we're going to follow your emotional authority. We're going to
Oh,
we're
see, it
going to
makes
go
it so much easier.
you need to sleep on it. Right, exactly. It's like, "Oh, you're excited about it today, but you need to sleep on it." If that person is saying if you say yes today, you'll get this special bonus, but you're not sure yet, no. The answer is no until you get a little bit of time away to think on it. If you're sacral, is it a or is it like a hell yes, like pull in like a tractor beam, right? Like those pieces, and then there are several other authorities, right? So I know what their authority is so that I can help them feel what their truth is.
That's so good. So good.
And then from there, yeah, it's like that, then it's the money mindset piece that comes in of like, I can't afford it or this or that. And it's then it's how do we find opportunity? How do we shift into that opportunity mindset versus the I can't afford it mindset? Because
Totally.
I totally agree with you there that you can choose not to do something.
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't afford it. It means you chose to put your money somewhere else
Right.
and you own the choice rather than feel like a victim of somebody else telling you what you can or can't do.
Yep.
I love that.
Me too. This is why I love those tools so much. Like, I don't know nearly as much as you do about human design, but like with astrology, and I don't even, to be clear, I don't know a ton about that either, but I know a bit more about it. It was the most extraordinary thing to me when I learned, oh, this is what this means on your birth chart, or this is what this means. So much so, it's like the most blatantly obvious thing. If you, someone who knows what, they're looking at, if they were to look at my birth chart, they'd be like, oh, like this is your main issue. This is your path, your destiny, your purpose, whatever. It's so clear on mine. So Chiron is the wounded healer.
Hmm.
And that on anyone's birth chart is like in an area where they might have had some bigger challenges. Mine is in the house of money and
Yeah.
self-worth. It's like,
See?
oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. But at first, when I learned about Chiron, I was like, oh, like I thought it was a life sentence. I thought it like that's always going to be, if that's your issue, that's you're always going to be challenged by that. You're always going to have that as your issue. But I was forgetting about the healer part, the wounded healer. So it's exactly as you said with the whole upheaval thing, like going through something to learn, to grow, to heal, to then share it with other people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I do in my coaching work. And on top of that, I was completely neglecting this whole other piece of my chart, which there's like mega. So, what's called a stellium, which is where three things are in the same area, three or more, meaning there's a lot of power in that area. I have like this badass stellium in the freaking house of wealth building. And I was like, hello,
Yeah. So is
what?
that in your 10th house?
My eighth.
In your eighth house? Okay. So you have a
So
still.
mixed in with everything taboo and all kinds of interesting things there.
Yes, yes, yeah. Oh my gosh. That's my chart is similar. When is your birthday? I didn't-
October 2nd.
October 2nd. Okay. I'm
Yeah, me
August
and Gandhi. So we're the same.
BFFs. And who else was in there? Uh, there was another one.
Oh,
But
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter. There you go. I think Kelly Ripa was there too. You and Kelly
Yeah,
Ripa.
and Sting.
Sting, that was the one. That was the ST that was coming up. I'm like, it was an S word. That's hilarious. Yeah, those seeing those, I love that. Seeing the wounds
Hmm.
and seeing the shadows
Yeah.
of what things can, right? Sometimes we get or sometimes people will get stuck there. And the thing like yeah, like oh, it's or even in your astrology or in your human design, people can sometimes think of it as a life sentence or prescriptive in some way rather than the truth of it, which is like this is just your imprint
Right.
and you choose. Every single aspect has a gift and a shadow.
It's kind of like epigenetics,
Right. You get to
like it's
turn
like
one off or
the
on.
gene is there, but is it on or is it off? There is
Yes.
choice in that. And the same thing with our, astrological profile or whatever. It's very similar.
Yeah. That's exactly how I frame it. My husband even asked once because he's very skeptical, which is fine.
Yeah.
Um, but he's like, well, if someone was born at the exact same time as me and it has the same exact chart as me, then like how does that make me unique? How does that and that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, did they grow up in your house with your parents, with your socioeconomic uh
All
standing?
that stuff.
Everything. Were they a woman or were they a man? Like that, everything about their upbringing, their nature and their nurture together is going to, determine or condition them to turn off or turn on different parts of their own expression.
Totally. Like I wish I would have learned all that stuff because I was very, very skeptical. Even though my background, it like I've studied so much spirituality, metaphysics, all of these things. Still, with like the astrology bit, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that. Seems like they just make up these horoscopes and like whatever.
Right?
I would say until really like in the last year that whatever life showed up and was like, hello, pay attention to this. So I
Mhm.
started looking into it. That doing that allowed me because before I I did shy away from really focusing in on the money aspect. I was like, yeah, I can
Mhm.
like do spiritual direction. I can be your coach in terms of life coaching and all of that kind of thing. Or even then turned into business coaching because I had had some success. Other people saw that. They wanted to see how did you do that? All of that was great. But I really didn't like target in on the money aspect because I still basically felt like a fraud and was
Mm.
like, ah, like I haven't made $1 million yet. So like, what do I know about any of this? And then I'm like, wait, it's right there, literally in my thing that says this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And truly within the last year, I've like shifted more stuff into focusing on that because I didn't, it was like, I don't know why, but I like needed some external validation or something from a
Yeah.
birth chart that said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, duh, I have all the pieces to do it. I was just kind of a little intimidated to do it in the past, but that really gave me the strength and the clarity to like target in on like money, mindset, coaching. This is what you do. It's what I've always done. I just haven't really like called it that. So it's been transformative for me.
Yeah, and that's that I feel like that's the one of the most powerful uses of any of those systems.
Yeah.
Human design incorporates astrology, right? So astrology is a big piece of it. Um, but it's got, a few different systems that are all tied together, which my brain loves. I love the
That's how I am too. Like the integrations.
oh, yes,
So like,
anything.
Gene Keys also, right?
Oh my God, yes, I use them all
Right.
the time.
So like also very integrative. And the first time I read my Gene Keys thing, I was like, whoa, like this is so clear. So right on. It was
Yeah.
fascinating. Like I told all my clients at that time, I'm like, okay, we need to figure out what your Gene Keys are because this is
Yes.
brilliant. But yeah, I love the ability to bring things in and merge things because I've always had such varied interests and passions and things I'm reading about, books I'm reading, that I love being able to be like, oh, in this, there's this great example of that. And that I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's very 6'2"
Is it?
profile-y.
Is that
Yes.
how we are?
That's how we are, like bringing in all of these different pieces and like, oh, that, yeah, they come together and like seeing how they come together where other people like human design and financial planning, right? Who are like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
they are very clearly, and then you tell them how, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I want that. I'm like, I
So
know, because
cool.
it's awesome.
So cool. I love that.
So, last thing before we wrap up, two things. But the first one, so I'm looking at your bookcase. I recognize a lot of those spines. We have a very similar over here. There's all my books. What are some of your favorites that you recommend over and over?
Well, the one that I have recommended more than any other book, specifically for people who are trying to figure out their money and their mind, is The Millionaire Master Plan by James
Mhm.
Hamilton. And the reason I like it so much is because it's not just generic, like, here's some money advice. What he does is he said, okay, first we need, it's kind of like what we've been talking about. He says, first, you need to figure out who you are. So he has these four types, and you are this, you are this, you are this. For instance, I am an idea generator person. My husband was a relational person. That's how he built his business. I build mine on ideas. So if I tried to build my business like my husband built his business, it wouldn't work
Right.
because I'm not that type of person. So he says, first of all, figure out who you are. So one of the four types. Then he uses the metaphor of a lighthouse where there's different levels. And he says, okay, if you are currently at this level, red, these are the three specific things that you need to do to get to the next level, which is orange. But for people who are already at yellow, like they don't need to go back to red. They're already at yellow. So he says you need to know who you are and also where you're at. And for each of those like positions, he gives you 3 specific things to get to the next. So I think it's just so helpful to be like, this isn't generic, whatever. It's this is who you are. This is the way you do stuff. This is where you're at currently. This is how to get to the next level. Done.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I really like that. I haven't read that one. I've heard that one. Because someone else has told me the lighthouse analogy
Yeah. Yeah. So
before.
that's
So,
that's his. You know what? In terms of like general life stuff though, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay is one I think every single person on the planet should read
mm,
because it just gives you the power back of like, oh, all of this stuff is choice. All of everything is my own creation. So what do I want to do to create the reality that I want? Like she's really showcasing all of that. And she talks about how different diseases or illnesses that show up in our body are just symptoms and signs of an emotional challenge that we might be going through. I think it's brilliant. So that one I recommend to everybody.
mm, I love that. And then, of course, you've already got The Heart of Consciousness, which is your book.
So the Heart of Consciousness was basically I took my dissertation, which was on heart intelligence, shrunk it down, made it as simplified as I could, and said, I just want to help people understand what's going on in their heart from the scientific perspective. So, like the neurocardiological perspective.
Mm,
That's what that book is. And then the one that's coming out, Heart Path, is essentially the real life story of
mm.
that, like how all of that heart stuff plays out in real life.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm
Thank you.
excited.
I can't, me too. I have to finish writing it, which is a big job, but
That's so exciting. And in the meantime, until that's ready, where can people find you? Where can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to find you?
yes, thank you so much for asking. The absolute best way is lucra.com. It's Lucra as in lucrative. So lucra.com, that's my company, and that has links to every other thing that I am doing or, will do in the future.
So beautiful. Mindy, this was such a fun conversation. I love jamming on all of this with someone else who has been through a lot, and have your own powerful, powerful story to share and to teach and to guide from. So thank you so much for being here. And all of your links, everything will be in the show notes, be super easy to find. And yeah, I hope we get to do it again. I love it.
We will. I'm going to have you on my show. Thank you so much for having me on yours.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if anything resonated with you from this episode, I would love to hear from you. Email me at Hannah, HANNAH, at expansiveceo.com and tell me about it. And if you're ready for your greatest expansion, you can find ways to work with me at expansiveceo.com and at x2wealthplanning.com. That's X, the numeral 2, wealthplanning.com. So until next time, remember that there is enough, you are enough, and your birthright in this lifetime is to be expansive.